Welcome to the In Love with PMDD podcast. I am your host, Rose, your PMDD relationship expert. So today we are going to be talking about my PMDD experience and how it affects my partner. So I have had PMDD for the past 15 years, and I've always found that PMDD has affected my relationships the most. I've been able to be a mother. I've been able to go to work. I've been able to do all of these things, but it's my relationship that literally affects my life the most, to where it feels like it's just too much. And it's made me over the years want to break up with my partner every month, to think that it's them, to think that it's me. And the hardest thing that I've found to maintain while having PMDD is an intimate relationship. And that's why I've dedicated my practice to providing you with tools that I have incorporated over the last 15 years. Now I'm happily married to my partner who knows that I have PMDD, who we have used the tools together, and we really cultivated an awareness of we can have a healthy relationship while also me having PMDD. So today I really want to go in depth with my PMDD experience, because I know that it's different for everyone, but I'm going to give you just an example of some of the tools that I use with my clients on how to combat some of the things that specifically impact your intimate relationship. So one of the first ways that I know that I'm in PMDD, and I call it the shift, and so does my partner, is that I wake up with night sweats. So my body's temperature gets so hot that it literally drenches my clothes. I'm really, really hot, and it drenches my clothes. So when I wake up, I have to like literally change my clothes before I go back to bed. I mean, it's drenched the sheets, it's all over. My body temperature greatly increases. And so my PMDD normally hits at night. I can have an amazing day feeling completely myself, and then I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm completely drenched. So night sweats are my go-to, where I'm like, okay, it's happening. The shift is happening, because sometimes with PMDD, I get it not always on the same days. And there's always that hope. You know how you have those months where it hasn't come on the day that you thought it was going to come. So you almost think like, oh, maybe I won't have it this month. So you're just so hopeful that maybe you can skip a month and not have to go through PMDD. So when I get the night sweats, I know that it's on. So another thing is anxiety, shaky hands. So I didn't originally recognize this symptom, but when I would go to do things, I would tend to drop them. And I'm naturally a clumsy person. So I would just be like, oh man, I can't believe I dropped that, or I can't believe I wasn't able to do that. But it's literally the PMDD that makes my anxiety so bad that my hands begin to shake. I have this nervous energy. I always feel like I need to be on the go. Like it feels, the anxious feeling, it makes me want to keep moving so that I can keep up with how I'm feeling on the inside. So along with the shaky hands is a clenched jaw. So I'll notice when I wake up, I'll just be clenching my jaw, and I can literally feel the soreness that I have in my jaw when I start to clench it for so long. And I didn't even know that was a thing. That took me later on into my journey to realize like I'm clenching my jaw, because when I released my jaw, I felt like, okay, that's more calming, that's less tension, but it's something that I do. It's almost like I was bracing myself to the PMDD. I was bracing myself because I knew the PMDD was coming, because sometimes on the days that I know that PMDD is supposed to be there, I get really on high alert. So I began to brace myself. Another thing is clenched fist. I was so shocked, but I would literally wake up and my fist would be balled, like tight. And I was just like, what? So again, just like the clenched jaw, when I released it, I noticed how differently that felt, how differently it made my energy. And it's a defense mechanism, because you know that the trauma is coming. PMDD is a traumatic experience. Your body's trying to prepare yourself for that. And so you're doing these specific actions. Your body is naturally just protecting you for what is about to come. Um, Also, with the fever and the high energy, I'll start to look at the thermostat. I remember I used to think that my partner was turning up the air, or even my daughter was turning up the air, because I would be like, it's too hot in here. Like, it's too hot. It would be a normal temperature that I would be completely comfortable in when I wasn't in PMDD, and it would feel like I could hear the heat come, like the air beyond, and I just wanted it to stop. Another common theme for me when I'm in PMDD is misophonia. So this is a sensitivity to noise. This is when everything seems louder than it really is. And so you're hearing, so specifically how this deals with my partner is that he would close drawers or do certain things, and I would literally hear it so loud to where I'd be like, why is he doing this? Like it sounds like slamming. Or when he would speak to me, it sounds like yelling, even though it's not. So that sensitivity of noise is another, like I would have my dog Leo, and he would be licking his paw. And it's something that he normally does, but I would wake up like that cartoon with the two eyeballs, and I would hear him licking his paw, and it would sound like it was blasting. So it's like silent, and then I hear and I'm like, what is going on? And it drives you insane because it's so loud and you feel like you can't escape it. That's another thing with my partner. He snores, and that's something that I've never dealt with. Like, I like to sleep in quiet. I know some people, like my sister or something, they like to sleep with the TV on or like background noise. But for some reason, I like to sleep in complete silence. And so when I'm in PMDD and I hear the snoring, it's almost like a knife. It's like, ee, ee, ee. So it's very daunting, and that really affects our intimacy, because when I don't get good sleep, then it affects me the next day. And in the morning, he can wake up and be really refreshed and like, hey, good morning, I love you, and all these things. And I just feel evil. I feel resentful. And that's another thing with PMDD. It's like this other person comes out that's just really rude. Like sometimes I'll be thinking some of the thoughts that I have during PMDD in regards to my partner, and things that I would think to say or do. And I would just, later on in my journey, I've gotten to be more well aware to observe my thoughts versus to just act on them, because before I thought those thoughts were true. So I would just act on them. But now that I'm becoming an observer of my thoughts, and I would hear the thoughts of like, oh, say this or do this. And I'd be like, that's rude. Like, because I'm genuinely a nice person. And I feel like during PMDD, I don't feel nice. I feel like this mean, evil, conniving person that's trying to just be mean. And I don't know why. Like I have no idea. It's so out of character. But I do know with my partner during PMDD, I feel very overwhelmed. I feel like they are a burden, because what happens is I get really independent during PMDD. So I have clients that tend to say, oh, I get really clingy during PMDD because I'm wanting extra support. And to me, that's understandable. But for me, I have the opposite. I feel really independent. And maybe that comes from my upbringing of being a single mom, of having childhood trauma, being out on my own since I was 17. So I go to that default of, I don't need you. I can do everything by myself. And then when you're trying to integrate yourself into my life, I'm kind of like, why? Like I'm good. Like I'm fine. And what happens when I get into that independent mode is that my partner tends to cling on to me even more because he feels like I'm slipping away. So when he feels like I'm slipping away and I'm in this independent mode, it's like I'm going this way and he's coming this way. And it's like very not in sync, because normally we're very, like when I'm not in PMDD, we are very obsessed with each other. We're very loving, very doting, like always telling each other how much we love each other, but like in a very expressive, passionate way, not just like, oh, I love you too. Like we're very passionate in our relationship. And I find that when I'm in PMDD, like he'll be like the same way, like, oh my gosh, I love you so much, and all of these sweet things. And I'm like, yeah, I love you too. And it's like crickets. It's very apparent that my response to our normal conversation back and forth is very robotic. And a lot of times it's robotic because I know that I have a responsibility to give my partner attention, affection, admiration and affirmations and all of these things, but it's not necessarily something I feel like doing, but I do it anyway. But I tend to find that it's with less enthusiasm because I don't feel enthusiastic about much, like about anything except for sleep. When I am in PMDD, I can literally sleep 12 to 18 hours if you let me. And it's like I can never get enough. The fatigue is so overwhelming. It feels like a weighted blanket on me. So when I'm going to sleep and I'm sleeping, I'm feeling like I'm just drifting off into a dark hole where I just want to sleep and sleep and sleep. I can literally wake up and then go back to sleep like I'm drugged or something. And it feels like I'm so exhausted. My body needs so much sleep. My mind needs so much sleep. And that's one of the symptoms where, again, all of these things that I'm doing and internalizing causes more issues in the relationship because it's causing insecurity with my partner because we don't live together. We're in a long distance relationship. And so whereas I would normally like wake up in the morning and send a message or wake up in the morning and do all these things, I'm not doing those things when I'm in PMDD because I'm hibernating, I'm sleeping, I'm surviving, I'm trying to recover. And naturally, he's like, what's going on? For my partner, he's very routine, very strategic, very like, I need a schedule. Like, this is what I know that my partner is doing at this specific time because we're living apart. I really believe it would be different if we were day to day where he could literally see me in the bed sleeping, but it's caused so many issues because it's been like, I can never keep a consistent schedule because I never know when PMDD is going to hit because it fluctuates a little bit. And then when it does, I'm out. And I just feel like when I'm getting requests for all of these normal relationship things, it's just so overwhelming. I'm like, I'm just trying to survive. Like I can't give you all of these things. And it became an annoyance where I felt like, why would you ask me to do these things for you when I can barely do these things for myself? Like it kind of felt like a little selfish. PMDD has a way of making you go really self-serving because you're feeling like you need to pour into yourself, rightfully so, but it makes you tend to kind of abandon your partner a little bit in their needs because you're still trying to figure yourself out. So that's something that greatly affects my relationship when I'm in PMDD. The feeling of loss of focus is another big one. It's like when my partner would say something and then I would lose focus or he would have to repeat it. He'd be like, were you not listening to me? So sometimes me not being able to remember a statement that my partner says was not that I wasn't listening. It's just thoughts during PMDD go in one ear, out the other. Like it's like it takes more effort to catch on and hold on to a thought. So this causes an issue in a relationship because if he's saying something really important and then he mentions it again and I ask him to repeat himself, then it's kind of like, wait, were you not listening to me? And it's like, crap, like I know I was listening, I know I heard you the first time, I just forgot. And that forgetting is because it's really hard to maintain focus when you're in PMDD. And then also the defensiveness, I've literally said at this point, like we should just not have disagreements during PMDD because earlier in our journey, everything that he said during PMDD, it seemed like an attack. And I felt like the ego would really get so big. That's another thing that happens when I'm in PMDD with my relationship is my ego is really big. Like, who do they think they are? It's like this little voice that's like telling me, who do they think they are? They can't talk to you like that. You'll be better off without them. You should just leave. Like all of these thoughts that I would never think when I'm not in PMDD happens. And so it's really hard to connect with my partner when I have this ego because I kind of feel like I don't need them. And I know that, like I told you before, that a lot of my clients feel like they overly need their partner, but I feel like there's two sides of the spectrum. There's individuals where they feel really independent, where they feel like they don't need them. And then they feel overly clingy, like I need so much more and more than the partner can give. But it's distinctive with PMDD. It's like it's very extreme. So I'm going to give you some tips of some of the things that I've developed over the last 15 years that have helped me with my partner when I'm going through these specific PMDD symptoms and the shift, and that is sustainable habits. So one of the things that we do every single morning is we send a morning devotional. We do this whether I'm in PMDD or I'm not, and I found that keeping with that habit kind of aligns me, because what you need to do when you're in PMDD, you need to remember the things that ground you and the things that you appreciate about your partnership, your relationship, because you tend to forget it. You feel like you don't need it. And so, because it feels like it's overwhelming, it's not worth it. I should just be better off single. So you tend to forget all of the wonderful things about your relationship, and you're willing to just give it up as a way of escape, as a way of, getting yourself out of that sense of responsibility. So another thing that I do is I guarantee that I speak at least 5 times. Now, again, this is text message or verbally, kind words, kind phrases, kind affirmations to my partner, because I know that that's something that we normally do. So, what I suggest for all my clients is that think about what it is that you do when you're not in PMDD and write at least 5 things down and continue to do them while you're in PMDD robotically. So you need to make a habit of doing it, because you're not going to feel like doing it. It's kind of like working out. You're not going to feel like doing it. But if you make a commitment to say, no matter whether I feel like doing it or not, I'm going to do these things, then it's going to make sure that your relationship is not going to be damaged by the neglect, by leaving your partner on their own to just fend for themselves because you're so busy trying to survive the PMDD. Another very important thing that I learned in my journey that has really helped my clients is not immediately reacting. Not immediately reacting when you're feeling triggered. So the first thing you need to do is recognize what happens to you when you're emotionally triggered when you're in PMDD. We have to remember that PMDD is a mood disorder. So it's obvious that you're going to have your mood shifting up, they're going to be shifting down. But every time that your mood is activated in a negative manner, there's a something happens to your body and something happens to your mind. And you need to be able to recognize what those things are. Okay, so for me, I notice it's the clenched jaw, it's the tightened fist when I in the rapid heartbeat. Those 3 things, when I notice that those things are happening, I know that I need to take a step back. And continuing to hear the things that are triggering me is another thing that's really damaging. I used to try to set it out, like wait it out, have the conversation. But that doesn't work, because the more that the person is speaking to me in that manner, and the more it's magnifying the trigger. So what you need to do is figure out what happens to your body and what happens to your mind when you're emotionally triggered. And when you recognize what happens, then you can recognize when you're triggered. And when you know that you're being emotionally triggered while you're in PMDD, you need to take a step back. You don't need to continue to maintain the conversation. You don't need to continue to prove yourself. You don't need to continue to do any of that, because you need to regulate your system, your nervous system. It's elevated. You need to regulate it before you continue. And a lot of times, some of the things that bother you when you're in PMDD wouldn't normally bother you if you were not in PMDD. Like some of the things that my partner has said to me when I'm in PMDD, I'm like, oh my, clutching my pearls, like I can't believe they said that. Like who are they to say that? But then when I'm not in PMDD, it doesn't bother me. And so it's a little confusing for your partner because they could be speaking to you in a normal manner that they always do. But now because you're in PMDD, now it's a problem. So to rectify that situation, you need to remove yourself and know when to take a break and not react and do pause. So something that I do is walking meditation. I've done this for years and I swear by it because I can't do I can, but it wouldn't be effective to do the normal meditation where I'm sitting there with my legs crossed. I do about 5 minutes after I exercise, and I do about 5 minutes just to center myself. But sitting there for 20, 30 minutes in deep meditation or even longer than that is not good for me. Like it's not effective. It'll be like I'm forcing it. So something that I do is walking meditation. So I get out in nature, whether it's hot, whether it's cold, it doesn't matter. And I go for a walk. I don't check my phone. I kind of put it on do not disturb. And I'll talk about that in a little bit, but I allow myself to have those thoughts come out and I move my body because what happens when you move your body, you're shifting your mood. If you stay in a dormant set where you're just laying down or you're sitting down and you're having these negative thoughts, um, your body is going to sink more into those negative emotions. If you move, if you get up and you do something, that's when your emotions are shift. That's when you get the endorphins. That's when your cortisol level, your stress hormone, that goes down because you're moving your body. So, in with the walking meditation, something that I have is my morning routine. So, what I do every single morning is I put my phone, first, I text my husband because we're in a long distance marriage, like I told you. And I send the scripture, the devotional that we have. It's on relationships. I send that. He has one. He sends it to me, and then I put my phone on do not disturb, and I give myself an hour. It normally takes an hour for my routine to be done. I'll do like 30 to 40 minutes of exercise, and then I'll just do a cool down and a meditation. And by that time, my mood has been shifted. So a lot of times when I wake up in PMDD, I'm already in a bad mood. And I really don't want to project that on anyone else. So I make sure that I do a morning routine that kind of shifts that mood before it has a chance to affect anyone. So um, do not disturb, putting that on my phone was really, really huge for me because I'm very responsive. I'm not the person that can have like 75 notifications. Like, I feel like I have to respond to everything. So I felt like it was such a rude thing to put my phone on do not disturb. It was such a selfish thing. Like, but when I really thought about it, I needed that hour because if I sacrificed my morning routine, how I showed up to other people would be horrible, disgusting. I would have regrets. So I give myself permission to put my phone on do not disturb. I communicate that to my partner. My partner's aware that if I say, hey, I'm getting up and I'm doing my morning routine, they know my phone is going to be on do not disturb for that hour. And then I'm going to get myself ready for the day. So, what my morning routine consists of is the first thing I do is I put on something positive to listen to for about the first 20 minutes. And this is while I'm putting my workout clothes on, while I'm getting ready. What you listen to in the first 20 minutes of your day impacts your whole day psychologically. 20 minutes, the first 20 minutes. So whether you're scrolling on social media or whether you're looking at old text messages, like whatever you're inputting into your brain for the first 20 minutes is going to program your entire day. And so many people don't realize that, and they subconsciously listen to negative things and then they wonder why their day is negative. Well, it's because you need to make the first hour of your day sacred. And that's what I do with my morning routine. Is it's very sacred for me that for the first 20 minutes, I am consistently focused on me. And it's not selfish, it's making sure that I'm full, my cup is full so that I can give to other people. So for 30 to 40 minutes, I will work out. I will walk my dog for about a good 15 to 20 minutes. And then that's normally when I do the walking meditation is I will work out. During this colder weather, though, I just moved back to Maryland, and I was living in Honduras, and I found it not to be conducive to work out and then go on a walk while I'm sweating because I'm gonna catch pneumonia. So what I've been doing is waking up and walking my puppy for the first 15 to 20 minutes and then coming back and doing my workout. But again, it normally doesn't take longer than an hour. Once I'm done, I'm in the shower. By the time I get out, I'm just reflecting on all the good vibes. And when I'm talking to my partner, I'm more positive. All of those negative thoughts that I had in the morning are completely gone. That bad mood where I'm thinking about all of the symptoms that I've had from the night sweats, all of that is gone because I feel really empowered. And what exercise has a way of doing is to getting you out of that victim mentality. PMDD has a way, and rightfully so, because it's a horrible disorder, but it has a way of putting you in that victim mentality where you feel like your life is horrible because it's not fair. And the more that you think that it's not fair, and why do you have to deal with this, and life is so hard because of this, it makes you feel worse. Because the thing about it is that it's not going to change anything by thinking that way. It's not going to change anything by saying it over and over and over. But what you can do, what you can take control of, is moving your body. What you can take control of is the state that you're in. And so if you sit and do nothing and you stay in that same place, then everything's just going to stay the same. So I never feel like it. And I just want to preface that because a lot of times, if you follow me on social media, my Instagram is in love with PMDD. You see me working out every morning, and people say, "Oh my gosh, you're so motivated. You're so inspiring because you're always getting up and doing it." I feel like it half the month. I do. I have a passion for staying fit, working out, feeling good about myself because I know how it makes me feel, not necessarily the aesthetics of it, although that's something that I enjoy. It's not my goal. My goal is to feel amazing. And I know that moving my body and exercising does that for me, but I don't feel like it when I'm in PMD. I almost never do. So for my PMDD, it started off as just a week, which was great. But now at this point, it's about a good 12 to 14 days. So it's half my month. And during that time, I don't feel like working out, and I just push myself to do it because I know how I'm going to feel afterwards. And it's necessary because I know the alternative. The alternative is to sit in bed and to think about how horrible I feel like my life is when I'm in PMDD and all my symptoms, and it impacts how I talk to my partner because if they're really happy, if they have something really good going on, or if they want to be cheerful or anything, I'm just like, oh, okay. Like I feel dead inside. I feel dormant. I feel less than. And I can't support my partner and have that energy match their energy or even comparable, like anything comparable to it, if I haven't done my morning routine, if I haven't done the things that are important to make sure that I shift my mood, to shift my emotions, to shift how I feel about my body. One thing about exercising, and like I told you, it's not about the aesthetics, but if you don't like the way you look in the mirror, it's going to affect your mental health. And when you don't like the way you look and it's affecting your mental health, it affects your relationship with your partner. If you try to be intimate and you're not comfortable with your body, the way it looks, the way you move, like you're not going to want to be as open with them because you're not comfortable with who you are, with what you look like. So this morning routine is not just contributing to you and your mental health, it's also contributing to how you show up with your partner. And one thing I recognize is do it even if you don't feel like it. And I know that this sounds like a really harsh thing, but here's the thing. When you get out of PMDD, you're going to feel like it. I'm not asking you to do anything that you wouldn't normally want to do when you're not in PMDD. So when I said make that list of things that you normally do in your relationship, the things that you know that your partner enjoys, that is because when you're not in PMDD, it's going to come natural. me sending text messages and loving messages and buying gifts and just being super loving. That's who I normally am when I'm not in PMDD. So why would I stop that? Yes, I have to force it sometimes. And my partner can notice. It's a double whammy. So sometimes he'll notice that I'm forcing it, but he still appreciates that I'm trying. So that's the difference. If you say, "Oh, I'm in PMDD," I'm not doing that. That's not showing effort. That's not being in a partnership, because what happens to you happens to them. Everything that when PMDD affects you, it affects them. And I remember earlier in my journey saying to my partner, "You don't know about this because it doesn't affect you. It only affects me." But that was a lie, because whenever I would go into PMDD, it would affect how I showed up in my relationship. So what happens in my relationship affects my relationship um, with myself and the PMDD and me trying to struggle with it. Like, it's all intertwined. So me dealing with PMDD is the same thing as me improving my relationship. It has to go hand in hand. As I manage my PMDD symptoms and that gets better, then it's going to improve my relationship with my partner. So I really want you to notice that everyone's going to have different symptoms, but the resolution for all of this is to do it even if you don't feel like it. Do the things that you know that your partner needs, even if you don't feel like it, because when you come out of PMDD, you're not going to have that guilt. The guilt that we all have had of abandoning our partner and or arguing with our partner, being evil with our partner, and having to deal with that guilt afterwards and being like, "Man, I was a real bitch." Or that really sucked. I treated them really horribly because I was going through something. And then you're out of it, and it's overwhelming to deal with that guilt. And this is a way to avoid that. And that is by picking out 3 to 5 things that you know that your partner enjoys, things that they've told you, and you know your partner. My partner specifically, again, because we're long distance, words of affirmation is really big. Not just telling him that I love him, but just being really attentive and letting him know that I'm grateful for him and listening, how his day is going. Because I remember a time where I was deep in PMDD and he would be talking to me and I'd just be like, I can't, like, what? Like, I don't have the energy to deal with your issues or anything that you have going on because I have all this going on. That's not a relationship. That's not a partnership. And I had to check myself and say, you know what? When I come out of PMDD, I know that when I'm feeling myself, I'm going to want to interact with him in a loving way. I'm going to want to be that involved. And the expectation for my partner to just turn it off is not a thing. That's not fair. That's not realistic. They're going to get burnt out. Because I do remember how my partner tried to shut everything down for 2 weeks, but it's not sustainable. And when you have a relationship that you want to be long term, you have to put in practices that are sustainable. And what is sustainable is doing the things that you know that your partner likes, even when you're in PMDD, even when you feel that shift, even when you're having those symptoms that are specific to you. Because the symptoms that I've told you today, the anxiety, the depression, the night sweats, the fatigue, the independence, the ego, the loss of focus, the rapid heartbeat, the paranoia, the defensiveness, the fever, the clenched jaw, the tightened fist, all of the things that I've told you about today, they're specific to me, but I know that you have your own symptoms during PMDD, and I know that they specifically impact your relationship in a very unique way. And this is something that I work with my clients because it's not cookie cutter. It's not cookie cutter because no one has the same PMDD symptoms. So this is why when you're trying to get relationship advice or you're trying to make your relationship better, you can't just get something off the street that's very cookie cutter, like someone who doesn't have PMDD could just do. Like if you try to go get coaching or counseling with someone and you create these tools or you have these tools. Yes, they may work for you when you're not in PMDD, but if you're not dealing with PMDD specific relationship tools, then they may not work for you, not because they're not good, but because they're not specific for you and PMDD. They're not cyclic. They're not specifically dealing with your symptoms. They're not specifically dealing with your partner. So if that's something that you're interested in, DM me on Instagram at In Love with PMDD, or email me inlovewithpmdd@gmail.com, or go to my website www.inlovewithpmdd.com. And everything that I do is customized. I don't believe in cookie cutter. I don't create programs and say this is a one size fits all. I don't do that because I know that PMDD is so specific. I know because I've had to customize tools, and I know because me and my partner have both went to counseling, and it was very effective when we were not in PMDD. But when I was in PMDD, it just didn't work. It didn't work. And I had to create tools because they weren't on the market. They weren't there. And that's why I'm devoted to doing that for you in your relationship, because I know that you having an intimate relationship in that is supportive and that is really working for you is what you deserve. It's not something where you have to decide, okay, because I have PMDD, I need to be single. No, you need to have the right tools to have a healthy relationship while having PMDD. And it's not that your partner may not be like a bad partner. It may be that they don't have the tools. I've dealt with so many clients where the partner thinks that they're just a bad person, or they're not the right one for me, or, it's not that they're not the right person for you. A lot of times it's that they don't have the right tools specifically for PMDD. And no one does, because they're not really on the market. And that's why it's so important to take advantage of something that's going to make you having an intimate relationship while having PMDD easier, because that is the support that you deserve. No one deserves to have to do this alone. This is not a isolating disorder where it's just, I'm going to be single for the rest of my life because I have PMDD. I believe that as much as we fight as PMDD champions, which is what I like to call us, that we deserve to have a supporting partner. That's it. Like, if not anyone else in the world, for everything that we deal with, we deserve to have a supportive partner, but we have to give our partners the right tools in order to do so. We cannot expect them to just know how to deal with PMDD. It's very frustrating to see us shift into PMDD and be expected to know how to deal with it. It's not realistic because it's not anything that's out there. So if you want to get that specialized advice, the tools that go along with it that are action based, I don't give just advice and just say, okay, it's a wish and a prayer. I give something where you can actually implement it into your relationship every single month, and it's customized. So if that is something that you're interested in, feel free to reach out to me. I'm here to support you because I want you to have the healthy PMDD partnership that you desire and deserve. This is your host, Rose. You got this.